Namaste, everyone. Welcome to Preparing for the Shift. I'm Kathleen. The Earth is presently experiencing three major changes. Earth's rotational speed is slowing down, Earth's magnetic force is decreasing, and Earth's electrical pulse is increasing. All of the plants and animals are resonating with Earth's electrical pulse. That means that all the plants and animals have a base frequency that is increasing to match the increased frequency of Earth's electrical pulse. Human beings are not automatically increasing their base frequency because the human being base frequency is controlled by the human being's emotional energy frequencies. There are two base camps of emotional energy frequencies. The lower energy frequencies consistent of fear, anger, hate, depression, despair. And the higher energy emotional frequencies, which consist of love, compassion, happiness, etc. If a human being is holding on to the lower emotional energy frequencies, then their base frequency will not be able to increase in order to match Earth's electrical pulse. If the human being's emotional energy frequencies are being held at the higher emotional energy level most of the time, then the human being's base frequency will be able to increase and match the increase in Earth's electrical pulse. If you have not watched the first 4 videos in this series, the introduction video, the 2 videos on Earth changes, and the video that describes how plants and animals and humans are responding to the increase in Earth's electrical pulse, then I recommend you go back and watch those 4 videos and then come back to this video. In this video, you will learn about the heart brain. Now, I'm only going to teach you the basics of the heart brain. We'll have an introduction in this video, and we'll continue with the next video. If you are someone who likes the more scientific information, I recommend you purchase Greg Brandon's book called Resilience from the Heart. The heart brain was discovered in 1991 by Dr. Andrew Armour, who was working for the University of Montreal at the time. He discovered a group of cells inside the heart that looked exactly like brain cells. They had neurons, which the neurological system uses to communicate information from one cell to another. And they have neurites that basically take the information and bring it to the neuron, and take the information and take it away from the neuron. So basically, Dr. Armour discovered there were brain cells inside the heart. Now, the discovery of having neurological tissue outside of the cranial brain was not new. General surgeons had been reporting that they were finding neurological tissues in the abdomen. They reported this in their medical journals. They didn't really know what this tissue was. They just decided that the brain had sloughed it off and the neurotissue had migrated down into the abdomen and settled into the intestinal area. Now, since the discovery of the heart brain, or the neurotissue within the heart, there's been a lot of research in relation to these clusters of neurological cells outside of the cranial brain. And the scientific truth now is that there are clusters of neurological tissues outside of the cranial brain, and they are part of the autonomic nervous system and helping to communicate information to the physical body. The largest cluster of neurological cells that have been found so far outside of the cranial brain are in the heart. So scientists call this cluster of neurological cells the little brain in the heart, or the heart brain. Scientists know that the heart brain is the first neurological tissue to recognize when there's a physiological change within your life form. So if you have an increase in blood sugar, or you have an increase in stress, or you have an infection that's developing, the information is transferred via the bloodstream to the heart, and the heart brain changes the chemical message to an electrical message, which is understood by the cranial brain. And this message is sent through the autonomic nervous system to the cranial brain. And the cranial brain will adjust the blood chemistry. So if you have an increase in blood sugar, then the cranial brain will send a message to your pancreas, and you'll have an increase in insulin. Or if you're starting to develop an infection, then the cranial brain will send a message to your immune system, and your body will start creating antibodies. Or if you're starting to feel a little stressed, the cranial brain will send a message to your adrenal glands, and your body will start increasing its stress hormones. Before you learn how the heart brain interacts more with the cranial brain, I want to explain how the cranial brain interacts with your heart. Now, even before the heart brain was discovered, scientists were studying the relationship between the cranial brain and the wavelengths that were coming from the cranial brain and your emotional energy frequencies. Scientists would put electrodes on the head. These are electroencephalogram electrodes, EEG electrodes, and the subjects would either meditate or visualize to make themselves feel peaceful or happy, or they were shown videos. Some of these videos were pretty horrific. They were designed to create fear or anger or depression or despair. And some of the videos were designed to create laughter or a feeling of compassion. So the videos were designed to create either lower energy frequencies or higher emotional energy frequencies. And what scientists found was that when subjects were watching the horrific videos and they were feeling the lower emotional energy frequencies, the EEG was recording a chaotic wavelength. And when subjects were watching videos designed to create the higher emotional energy frequencies, or they were meditating and visualizing to create the higher emotional energy frequencies of love or peace, then the EEG that was recorded was a sinusoidal or a harmonious wavelength. So scientists found that there was a relationship between the emotional energy frequencies and the type of wavelength that was coming from the cranial brain. Now, when the heart brain was discovered, scientists began to do the same type of research, but they were applying electrodes on the heart area, the electrocardiogram area. Now, people are pretty familiar with the basic beep, 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 because you've seen enough television to know that the heart gives off a signal. But you may not be aware that this signal also has a variability, and it's called the heart rate variability. The heart signal can be chaotic, or the heart rate variability can be harmonious. So scientists performed the same studies that were done on the cranial brain, and they did it on the heart, and they found the same results. When subjects were watching the horrific videos and were experiencing fear or anger or depression or despair, they were having a chaotic heart rate variability. or if they were watching the videos that were designed to create laughter or love, or they were meditating to try to create peace or love, they would record a harmonious heart rate variability. So the results were the same. Most of the research was done by the scientists at the Heart Math Institute, and these scientists also did studies where they applied the EEG and the ECG on the same subject, ran the same studies, and got the same results. When subjects were watching the horrific videos and experiencing lower frequency emotional energies, they had a chaotic waveform coming from the heart and a chaotic waveform coming from the brain. They also had a harmonious waveform coming from the heart when they were watching the videos that were designed to create higher emotional energy frequencies, and the same harmonious waveform was recorded from the brain. The heart brain is the bridge between the heart and the cranial brain. So what scientists believe is that when you have a chaotic heart rate variability, your heart brain records this chaotic message and sends this message to your amygdala. Now, your amygdala is the part of your brain that gives the message a name. So if you have a chaotic waveform, the amygdala will identify it as fear or anger or depression or despair. And in addition, the amygdala will synchronize with your heart brain, so that if the heart brain is sending a chaotic message, the frequency within the amygdala will be chaotic. So this chaotic message with a name will be sent to your cranial brain, and the cranial brain will start developing a chaotic waveform and will have a name for this lower energy frequency. Anytime you have a lower emotional energy frequency, the body feels stress. So one of the things that will happen is that the cranial brain will automatically send a message to your adrenal glands, and you'll have an increase in stress hormones. Now, if your heart is experiencing a harmonious heart rate variability, then that message is recorded by your heart brain and changed to an electrical message, and the electrical message will be harmonious. It is sent to your amygdala, and the amygdala gives it a name and synchronizes with the heart brain, and the frequency coming from the amygdala will be harmonious. This harmonious message will be sent to your cranial brain. Your cranial brain will develop a harmonious waveform and send a message to your adrenal glands to, chill out, everything's fine, and you can decrease the stress hormones. Now, we've known for a while that the message is not just one way. We can also influence the waveform in the heart by thoughts that we have in the cranial brain. We do this through meditation or visualization. We can create a harmonious cranial brain wave that focuses on love or peace. And this message is sent through the autonomic nervous system down to your heart brain, and your heart brain sends the message to your heart, and you will get a harmonious wavelength from your heart. I believe that understanding what your heart brain does is important, because if you do not understand what your heart brain does, I don't believe you will begin to manage your heart brain. And it is managing your heart brain that will allow you to maintain a higher emotional energy frequency most of the time. So if at this point you have questions about your heart brain, feel free to email me at prepare.shift@gmail.com. Give me your first name, the area of the world that you live in, and assure me that you have watched the first 5 videos or you have purchased the book Preparing for the Shift. In my next video, you will learn about your energy body. And then you will learn how your heart brain manages all of the emotional energies that come from outside of your energy body. And they are then transferred inside the energy body to your physical form. At this point, if the heart brain is part of your truth, then go ahead and continue with your videos. If the heart brain is something that you can't grasp or it makes you uncomfortable, it's not part of your truth, then I would stop watching the videos, because you're not going to manage something that is not part of your truth. I would recommend that you go ahead and purchase Preparing for the Shift, because when you start seeing that Mother Mary or Kuan Yin are showing up and talking to people, you will know that you have 3 months to prepare for the upcoming shift. Remember that you have free will, and the Creator is not worried about when you start to prepare for the shift. So it's your choice.